Yikes, this is really shocking and really bad news about the Secret Service. Listen to this, and then let's talk about how the heck this could happen and how it relates to what we've heard previously from the Secret Service and information regarding the Butler, Pennsylvania shooter who tried to assassinate a president of the United States, Donald Trump, the first time since 1981. Listen to this.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
Critical problem. Now, let's try to understand this for a moment, because sometimes it can be a little bit complicated to understand. So what probably happened here was, as we have already heard many times before, of course, a complete failure on the part of the Secret Service. There's no question here. Secret Service has tried to blame local law enforcement, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, theoretically, it's like, hey, like, if you're local law enforcement and you usually have a briefing, and you're like, hey, we haven't had our briefing yet, don't start the event, maybe somebody should say something. So I don't want to say that the local law enforcement here is totally blameless, but the Secret Service, obviously, they're the ones who take the final blow. They're the ones who are responsible, ultimately, for the last line of defense. And so they're responsible for making sure everybody else is on their part. Is on the same page. It's not necessarily this local law enforcement's job to go, hey, are you sure you're doing your job? I'm just saying that could have helped. But here's probably what happened. So I think the easiest thing to do is just write this out. Let's say you get your Secret Service that shows up, and they're going to be on, I don't know, Channel Echo, okay? Whatever. You could call it Channel Echo. You could call it Channel 5. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want. And then you've got local PD. What we used to do when I worked over in Florida for law enforcement department is what we used to do is we'd have our Channel Alpha, the Alpha channel, Channel 1 basically. This was sort of primary and local dispatch, which you still need, because obviously you're going to have local 911 calls that are going out, you know, hey, somebody wants to file a missing persons report, or there was a car accident, or my wife's beating me, or I guess usually it's the other way around, but whatever. So, domestic violence is one of the most dangerous call-outs for a cop, by the way. There's nothing to laugh about that. There's serious issues with domestic violence. That and car accidents. It's always what we had to deal with. Very dangerous. Domestic violences. Car accidents just suck. But anyway, so then you probably get local PD tactical SWAT, we'll call it. Tactical SWAT. And they probably showed up and said, all right, well, we're on this detail, basically, an event detail. And an event detail would usually go on a secondary channel. So let's just call it Channel Bravo, second channel. So now the local law enforcement shows up and goes, all right, I guess we'll be over here. And then you have the Secret Service, which is on a totally separate channel on potentially something else to know. I don't know if they do this, but potentially an encrypted channel. Now that gets a little bit more complicated. But see, with police radios, anybody can listen in. You could literally download police radio scanner apps on your phone and listen in to whatever radio broadcasts are in your city. You can't do that if people are broadcasting on an encrypted channel. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if the Secret Service uses an encrypted channel, and it would be pretty easy to record these as well once you have encryption up, but they didn't have recording on this, so it's also very annoying. And in fact, any of these are quite frankly very easy to record. But anyway, the Secret Service should have coordinated with the local PD's tactical channel, that Bravo channel, and they should have been on the same channel. Because local PD is like, hey, this guy's suspicious. You know, there have been videos that have come out, we'll pull one up in a moment, of the shooter potentially being followed by police. We already know the timelines of how law enforcement have pointed this person out as suspicious. 30 to 40 minutes prior, law enforcement saw him using a rangefinder. Law enforcement sees a random backpack and a random bike sitting around as this guy's climbing up on the roof. It's crazy because all of this could have literally been avoided if somebody, I don't have a radio here, but if somebody literally just picked up a radio and you know, got on their, it's usually their comms are right here, but some people have the tactical button here in the earpiece, or you just literally pick up a radio and talk into it. Hey, we're hearing shots or you know, people shouting that there's a man with a gun climbing up on top of a building, potentially in view of the president. If you literally were on the same channel and said that, which is like a 5-second statement, the people behind the stage, the Secret Service officers behind the stage, could have jumped on the stage, said, "Off, let's go. Let's take you down until we clear this situation." And so this is where we talk about siloed communications probably having led to this failure. And of course, it starts with a failure to pre-plan, because if the Secret Service is ordinarily on an encrypted channel, and again, I'm not sure if they are, and it would make sense though that they are. Otherwise, everybody could listen to what the Secret Service is saying anytime the presidential convoy goes by and they get on a radio comm, everybody else could listen to them. Now they have a jammer with you know, one of their vehicles in a convoy, but they still need to be able to talk. So usually you jam all the other frequencies except their encrypted frequency. Anyway, gets really complicated. Point of that, though, is if somebody can hear that encrypted frequency, and that's the one that's not jammed, then other people could listen, right? That's not good. Oh, turn left up here. Oh, okay, now we know where you're going. You don't want that. So they're probably encrypted. And again, this is why it would take an extra step to coordinate with local law enforcement, because if local law enforcement does not have encrypted radios, they might not be able to at all communicate with the Secret Service radios anyway. Some radios have both features, but you can even disable those features. So think about this for a moment. You could have a radio that has analog, digital, and digital encrypted. Some digital encrypted radios have all three options open. So it's literally just boop, boop, go to analog station. Boop, boop, go to digital non-encrypted. Other radios are actually locked into encrypted. So you can't do anything unless a radio dealer like reprograms the software on it, and it basically prevents inadvertently leaving an encrypted channel, right? One of the ways you could solve that too is you have Secret Service folks with 2 radios. And now this is where things turn into a pain in the ass, because if the Secret Service folks have 2 radios, that means you potentially need 2 earpieces and 2 radios. It's again, it's all solvable. It just takes the initial effort. Now, this has been trending on social media. This actually doesn't really look like the shooter, but I've seen this on social media, so let's take a look at this quickly here. Looks like an officer following someone who looks like the shooter. I don't really know if it does, though, because I thought the shooter had sort of darker pants on. Like more, or I should say more khaki pants. So this doesn't actually look like the shooter, but some people are circulating that on social media. So I just want to say, like, I don't think that's the shooter in that video, but some people were saying that. It's a video that kind of went viral. So I figured I'd at least address it so we could say, hey, like, maybe this isn't right. We already know that law enforcement found this to be very, how should I say, suspicious. It's just, you didn't have enough communication to the Secret Service. As we heard during testimony, one of the big takeaways was there's a difference between being suspicious and being threatening. Apparently, this was not deemed threatening enough. You could see the clothing's a little different there. So to me, those are different people. You know, those pants look very different. I mean, maybe he changed his pants. You know, because the rest of them kind of look somewhat similar. But I would argue that maybe that's a different person, doesn't matter. The biggest failure here was the failure to coordinate on radio comms, the siloing of radio comms, and the fact that somebody wasn't supervising the procedures, the checklist, so to speak. If you don't follow your checklist as a pilot, you're going to crash the freaking plane. And that's basically what happened here. This was like a situation where you had established procedures. They were not followed to solve some of the issues that are obvious and easily solvable issues, whether it's 2 radios or taking the time to go on the same channel or whatever. And then proper communications on that radio channel would have prevented all of this. The fact that I'm hearing, oh, we texted pictures to the chain of command who acknowledged receipt and then had to relay, like all this bureaucratic bullshit, that's exactly the point of what radios are supposed to prevent. See, with a radio, think about this for a moment. With a radio, you're not waiting for service. You're not waiting for your photo to go through because you're in a metal building and you're not getting reception. You're not waiting for somebody to pick up the phone, but they're on Do Not Disturb. Radios are really beautiful because when you're in an area, you generally have a radio repeater. So you bring a vehicle with a radio repeater and a large antenna, and it basically gives you radio coverage over an entire event, and there's no delay. It's fast. It's generally private comms, though again, they could have gone onto a public comms, or the local law enforcement could have gone on an encrypted comm. And it's fast. Everybody has the radio on. You could hear it even when other things are going on. It's actually one of the things that can sometimes become a challenge. Like if you're on the street and you're talking to a customer, as a cop, and the customer keeps yapping to you, and then the radio's going off, you're like, hold on. You're checking to see if there's an emergency or whatever, because it's just blaring in your ear all the time. Anyway, that's the point, though. Man with gun, man with gun. Oh, get the president up. The people were so, had to wait so long. They had to wait until the shooting because nobody was communicating with them. That was the point of the failure. Disgusting. So simple and almost caused civil war. Anyway, we're almost at 2 million subscribers, so if you wouldn't mind subscribing, help us out, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye and good luck.
These things that you told us here, I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.